Most people never realize how 1 hour could completely change their future until it's too late. One decision each morning holds the power to either carry you forward or keep you stuck. Most people choose without even realizing. I met a man once who said the morning was the only time in his day that truly belonged to him. He was a father, a CEO, and a mentor to hundreds, but before anyone else could touch his time, before the world could demand a single second, he would rise at 5 a.m., make his coffee slowly, sit in silence, and write. No phone, no emails, no noise, just presence. He told me that ritual saved him. That 1 hour gave me my life back, he said. And in that moment, I understood something most people never pause long enough to realize. Your mornings are not just the beginning of your day, they are the foundation of your entire life. You can tell everything about someone's future by looking at how they start their morning. If you begin in chaos, your day follows in stress. If you begin with intention, your day builds with purpose. The first minutes of your day shape your energy, focus, and clarity, and if those are off, your decisions suffer. I learned this the hard way. For years, I woke up late, checked my phone before brushing my teeth, rushed through breakfast or skipped it entirely, and spent my mornings reacting instead of creating. I didn't realize I was programming my brain for survival instead of progress. Every morning was a fight. Every day felt like catch-up. And no matter how hard I worked, I always felt behind. Then one day I decided to try something different, not because I was ready, but because I was exhausted. I committed to waking up 1 hour earlier, not to do more, but to start differently. I began with silence, just 5 minutes. Then I added journaling, 1 page, no rules. Then stretching, not a workout, just movement. That tiny shift changed everything. I started noticing my thoughts. I became more intentional with my goals. I stopped dreading my day, and slowly my results changed. Not overnight, but over time. I went from anxious to focused, from overwhelmed to grounded, from reactive to proactive. All because I stopped letting the world dictate how my mornings began. The truth is, most people are stuck in patterns they never chose. They wake up tired, stressed, disconnected from their goals. They think motivation is random, when in reality it's mechanical. It's created through rhythm, momentum, intention. The most successful people in the world don't wait to feel inspired. They create systems that guarantee clarity. Their mornings aren't perfect, but they're purposeful. They don't check their phones until they've checked in with themselves. They don't jump into work until they've aligned their mind. That's not luxury, it's discipline. And anyone can build it, including you. If you want to change your life, change the first hour of your day. It's not about cold showers or green juices or meditating on a mountain. It's about meeting yourself every morning with honesty. It's about asking, who do I need to be today, and acting from that identity. It's about starting slow so you can move strong. Most of us don't need more time. We need better use of the time we already have. And the morning is your cleanest slate. It's the one space the world hasn't touched yet. Don't waste it. Don't give it away. Guard it like your future depends on it, because it does. When you choose how to begin, you quietly reclaim control of everything that follows. There was a woman I met on a plane who told me something that stayed with me forever. She was a high-level strategist for a global company, traveling across countries every month, always juggling 10 things at once. But despite the chaos, she looked calm, almost weightless. When I asked how she managed to stay so centered, she replied, "I've made a non-negotiable rule in my life. My first hour of the day belongs only to me." She called it her sacred space. No noise, no negotiation. She moved slowly. She reviewed her purpose. She visualized her next bold move. And that clarity gave her the calm others mistook for natural confidence. What she was practicing, whether she called it that or not, was alignment. And that's what every morning offers us, a chance to realign. You can't control what the day throws at you, but you can control how you meet it. That control doesn't come from hustling harder. It comes from grounding deeper. When your mind wakes up in order, your decisions follow in rhythm. Your goals come into focus. Your actions become intentional. The people who consistently win are not working longer. They're thinking sharper. They walk into their day already anchored. And it starts before the world opens its mouth. I remember when I first tried waking up with structure. It wasn't a checklist. It was a decision to treat my mornings like my most valuable meeting. I began by reviewing what mattered most. Not my tasks, but my principles. I asked myself, if I only get one thing done today, what moves the needle in my life? That question alone cut through 90% of my distractions. Then I journaled, not to be poetic, but to clear mental noise, just stream of consciousness, 5 minutes, dump the mental trash so the rest of the day didn't carry it forward. After that, I stood in silence, or just breathing. Not spiritual, just stillness. For the first time in years, I felt like I was leading myself again instead of being dragged by the noise. 1 hour of intentionality created waves across my week. I started making fewer impulsive decisions. I didn't need to check my phone for validation. I stopped rushing. I stopped being late. I stopped saying yes to things that felt wrong. And slowly, I noticed something else. My energy wasn't being wasted. My mind had space to think clearly. My body wasn't under constant stress. And in that space, creativity returned, confidence returned, even joy returned. Not because I added more, but because I finally subtracted what wasn't aligned. If you're reading this and thinking, I don't have time, that's exactly why you need this. Because people who are overwhelmed aren't missing hours, they're missing clarity. And clarity doesn't arrive randomly. It's built through ritual, through presence, through ownership of your beginning. You don't need to overhaul your life. You just need to take back your start. Wake up earlier than the noise. Move before you're pulled. Breathe before you speak. Think before you scroll. These aren't luxuries. They're lifelines. The people who master their lives all begin by mastering their mornings. They don't wait until they crash. They don't hit snooze on their dreams. They move with quiet conviction before the world starts asking questions. And that's where their edge comes from. Not caffeine, not hustle, not luck. Just simple, consistent alignment with their values before anyone else tries to sell them a new one. If you want to live differently, you must begin differently. And the beginning starts tomorrow morning with you, your breath, and your choice to lead your life before it leads you. The most powerful transformation doesn't start with goals. It starts with who you decide to be each morning before the world sees you. Years ago, I read about a man who lost everything, his job, his savings, his sense of direction. But instead of spiraling, he did something unusual. He didn't apply to new jobs right away. He didn't seek distractions. Instead, he created a single rule. Every morning from 5 to 7 a.m., he would act as if he were already the person he wanted to become. Not wishfully, but practically. He showed up to that identity in silence. He wrote, studied, learned a new skill, worked out, meditated, visualized, not for others, for himself. Months later, he had built an online brand, landed a book deal, and found peace again. He said, I rebuilt my life before most people were even awake. That stuck with me, because your morning is not just a habit window, it's your identity rehearsal. Most people wake up and reinforce the same version of themselves, rushed, distracted, unsure, and then wonder why they stay stuck. But if you begin each morning by stepping into your next level self, even before reality agrees, you start creating momentum that rewires your entire direction. That's not magic, that's design. Every morning is a decision. Are you repeating who you were or becoming who you intend to be? The most powerful question you can ask before sunrise is, what would the highest version of me do right now? That one question shifts everything. The highest version of you doesn't reach for the phone before purpose. They don't get lost in comparison before creation. They don't wait for permission before beginning. They wake with clarity. They rise with calm. They start small but true. And that quiet commitment compounds into greatness. I've seen people change their entire self-worth by changing the way they begin their day. A woman I once coached told me, she never felt in control of her life until she claimed her mornings. She stopped letting emails set her pace. She stopped scrolling through everyone else's wins. She stopped rushing for things she didn't even care about. Instead, she began moving slowly, intentionally, bravely. 10 minutes of movement, 5 minutes of affirmations, 10 minutes of reading something that lifted her. Within weeks, her voice changed, her posture changed. She didn't just feel more powerful, she was more powerful. Morning routines aren't just about productivity, they are about identity reinforcement. They train your nervous system to believe in consistency. They give you evidence that you can lead yourself. And when your mind trusts you, confidence rises without needing applause. That's what people don't understand. Confidence doesn't come from achievement. It comes from daily self-respect, from doing what you said you would, from showing up with courage before conditions are perfect. Every morning, you are either reinforcing your past or rehearsing your future. One keeps you in patterns, the other pulls you into possibility. That's why morning routines feel so magical. They bypass doubt. They override hesitation. They whisper, you're doing it. You're becoming it. And eventually, that whisper becomes your voice. Eventually, you're not faking it anymore, you're living it. If you want to change your life, don't start with drastic shifts. Start with becoming unavailable for anything that dishonors your future. That includes hitting snooze. That includes checking social media before you've even heard your own thoughts. That includes putting everyone else before your own peace. You deserve to meet yourself in silence. You deserve to create before you consume. You deserve to rise, not to chase, but to build. And the most powerful time to begin that, before the world begins moving. Every life-changing transformation begins not with a loud moment, but a quiet decision, often made while the world still sleeps. There was a man I once knew who had every reason to fail. He'd grown up in chaos, worked jobs he hated, lived paycheck to paycheck, and every morning felt like a mountain just to get through. But one morning something changed. He didn't win the lottery. He didn't go viral. He didn't have a big break. He just decided, I don't want to feel powerless anymore. And with that, he set his alarm 30 minutes earlier. He got out of bed on the first ring. He sat with a pen and paper and wrote down one sentence. I am in control of how this day begins. That morning was uneventful, but it was the beginning of everything. One page turned into a habit. One walk turned into a health journey. One decision turned into a new business. One shift of mindset turned into a completely different life. Years later, he said to me, my success didn't start when people noticed. It started the morning I stopped breaking promises to myself. That story never left me, because that's what mornings are, your daily chance to make a promise. And keep it. Most people don't realize they're living on autopilot. They repeat their past because their days start without direction. They run toward goals without pausing to check if they still matter. They react before they reflect. But if you really want to change your life, you have to do something radical. Start choosing your beginning instead of inheriting it. Choose stillness over scroll. Choose creation over chaos. Choose identity over impulse. The world will always demand more from you, but you decide what to give. And that decision, it happens before sunrise. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You need a personal one. One that feeds your mind. One that activates your courage. One that reminds you who you are before the world forgets to ask. The goal is not to add stress to your mornings, it's to remove noise. It's to wake up and look your future self in the eye and say, I'm becoming you one morning at a time. I once asked a mentor how he stayed so consistent despite running a company, raising kids, and dealing with endless pressure. He told me, my morning is my anchor. No matter how big the storm gets, I know who I am because I meet myself before I meet the world. That right there is the gift we're all overlooking. When you reclaim your morning, you don't just organize your schedule, you remember your power. And power is quiet. It's the decision to journal when no one's watching. It's the 10-minute walk instead of hitting snooze. It's the stretch instead of the scroll. It's the whisper, let's go, when your mind says, not today. It's choosing not to start with distractions, but with alignment. And when you do that often enough, you don't just feel different, you live different, because your life is simply the sum of your repeated choices. And your morning is the first one. So what if, starting tomorrow, you stopped waiting for motivation? What if you stopped checking how others are living and instead designed a morning that reflected who you want to be? What if you chose just one thing to do before the noise, one act of alignment, and did it like your future depended on it? Because it does. You have no idea how close you are to a version of yourself you haven't even imagined yet. And all it takes is 1 hour, one quiet choice, one deliberate start. You don't need to see the whole staircase, you just need to rise for the first step. And when you do it again and again and again, a new life begins,